Good evening, everybody, and welcome here to the 13th race of the FTF Grand National Series presented by Splash and Go Graphics. We are here at Irwindale Raceway for the running of the Follow Ryan Williams Creative on Instagram 150 laps here tonight at the short track of Irwindale, and Seth Cole alongside of Samuel Dyer. Sam, the thing we're hearing up and down pit road is it's going to be very difficult to pass here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, this is a short track that doesn't have that many lanes. It's mainly stick in one lane and good luck from there. You're hoping for the car in front of you to make any mistakes, or you're going to have to use your bumper to move them out of the way.
Qualifying just about to wrap up here, and it looks like two-time winner Michael Cozy Jr. is going to start on the pole for this one, and he'll start alongside of Brian Mercurio. Now, Cozy comes into this race currently in the 20th position in points, so his two wins have him locked into a playoff spot currently, but Brian Mercurio could be another driver that we'll see get his first win of the season.
Also, something you got to watch out for is where people are going to be starting on the field. If you're going to be on the outside, it's going to be kind of difficult to run, as believe it's the low line is the faster line you want to be on.
I think so, yeah. From what I saw in practice, everybody was trying that inside line. A lot of drivers tried that outside line, but there's not a whole lot of grip there. You slide up into the outside wall.
So you're kind of hoping that you'll have the grip on the bottom to hold out. But if you get stuck on the high side, I mean, the only way you're going to be running fast is if you're wall riding, which is something that we're hoping that we don't really see out here.
Points leader Blake Reynolds, another two-time winner on the season, is going to roll off from the third position. And really, it's only a two-horse race as far as points at the top of the standings. Derek Justice, 9 points back, going to roll off from the 11th position. And I don't know if it's just me, but it kind of seems like the last couple of weeks have not been kind to that 31 car, who started off the season so great, had 4 wins, and I think it was the first 7 races of the year, but all of a sudden that good luck and the momentum has seemed to taper off a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of just been a lot of unlucky moments that have happened. This 31 machine, it's been a lot of trying to just survive. It all really started at Spa with everyone having so many issues, and since then, it's kind of been a trying to survive and then being caught up in an unlucky wreck here or there. And so Derek Justice trying to hope to bounce back, but still, he is always a threat at all of these tracks. I mean, he's shown that he is good at basically every single track that we've been to. So that 31 machine is never someone to count out.
Now, Michael Cozy Jr., in the last 2 races that he's won, his starting position was inside the top 10, 8th when he won at Phoenix, and 7th when he won in that photo finish against David Shieldhouse back at Talladega Superspeedway. So another good starting track position, and as he's going to be leading the field to green, we'll have to see how long that car can stay out in front here, because we're expecting, being a short track, there's going to be a lot of yellows. We may see a lot of pit strategy play. We haven't really gotten a clear indication of what the fuel window is or the tire window for these guys, because a lot of drivers really struggle in practice and going into a long green flag run.
Yeah, I was getting a word about the fuel, and it looks like it's really not going to be an issue. These tanks can last until about lap 125, so honestly, anywhere after lap 25 or so, you can pit, and you'll be good on fuel. If you pit any earlier than that, you're going to have to really worry about if there's a green, white checkered, but anytime after that, you should be good on fuel.
Well, here we go, 150 laps at Irwindale. Michael Cozy Jr., Brian Mercurio, green flag is out, we're racing.
And Michael Cozy Jr. really getting a fantastic start, but you got to wonder about the cars that are going to be running, as it looks like it's the high side that everyone's trying to run. And we're seeing a lot more as there's an accident in the back. Looks like it's the 62 machine that got some issues.
Yeah, Kyle Riley, the Outback Toyota Supra. Looks like maybe the 48 of Andy Margot may have gotten a piece of it as well. I don't see a whole lot of visible damage on Kyle Riley. A little bit of damage there to the rear, but if he's got the damage to the rear, something tells me he may have gotten a little help.
He spun out all by himself, but when he drifted back up on the track, it was Bronson Stafford that was right there in front of him that hit him in the back. So you got to watch out for Bronson's front end to see if he's got any damage on that vehicle.
Maybe this is why we saw everybody migrating up to the top there, because Kyle Riley was one of the few that entered into the corner low, and you can see that he just did not have any rear grip whatsoever.
No, he went in there low, and it looked like he got on the brakes maybe a little bit too much, and the car just snapped on him. It just did not feel comfortable. I mean, I was entering turn number 1, so something to watch out for is these cars. They do not look like they are stable, and it's difficult to run them here. So this could turn into, if just based off of that right there and what we've seen on practice, this could turn into a wreck fest.
And with that being said, and knowing that the caution could fly quite a bit, makes it even more important with the fact of Cozy Jr., Brian Mercurio, Reynolds, Butler being able to qualify their way up here towards the front, because more than likely they're going to be able to stay up here at the front if they continue to lead here under pacing. Now, you brought up the fact of being able to make it about 125 laps, roughly on a tank of fuel. If we run enough caution laps and these drivers are able to, clutch and save, do you see the possibility of, let's say we have about 8, 9 cautions in this race total. Is there enough laps of saving that you can save those 25 laps and not even have to come to pit road at all for the entirety of this race?
No, I don't see how these drivers can save that much fuel, even at a short track and clutching. It's still extremely difficult just to save over 5 laps, let alone try to save 25 laps. But on the pits, we have Bronson Stafford is taking his machine down there and trying to get as much work done on that 61 machine, and that is not the day he wanted to have. I mean, didn't really get through lap number 1 and already major damage on that machine.
Bad news, he lost a lap there as he's getting repairs done. Good news is, more than likely, we have not seen our last yellow of the evening here, as we're only on the 6th lap and working caution number 1. So the likelihood of more cautions coming out, him getting the chance to get a free pass, get back on the lead lap, seem like the odds are pretty good in his favor.
Another machine that got some pit road work done is the 53 machine.
Justin Malello was actually running some good lap times in practice too. I was looking at this to maybe we one of the cars to remain up in the top 10 most of the day, but he's going to be back there in traffic also. And the likelihood right now, just based on what we saw there with Kyle Riley having not very much grip, of us getting a long green flag run seems relatively slim, but if we do, we got to remember Irwindale is a short track, and drivers, even though there's 32 cars in the field, it would not take long for the race leaders to reel in the tail end of the field. So that could come into play if we do go into a long green flag run, and we're about to find out if we will. Green flag back in the air on lap 7.
Green flags in the air, and once again, you got Michael Cozy Jr. with fantastic lead, but down below, you've got that 3 machine trying to figure out to get space up top, and Blake Reynolds still stuck on the bottom.
It looked like he was trying to clear Mercurio for second place, but Mercurio battled back on the top side. Meanwhile, further back, way down low is the 72 of Chris Wetz. He got a little out of shape there coming out of 4, and that's going to bring Travis Brown to his outside. Keith Sherman there in the 15, Wetz in the 72, 0-1 of Travis Brown. They all had to race their way here into the field through the open LCQ.
I mean, this is kind of starting to look kind of like dirt racing, with drivers trying to really throw their car on the bottom, slide it up. But the outside lane is where you want to be.
Tires on the apron there momentarily for Jake Poulin. His car got loose, and now looks like he's actually bringing that Hardee's Toyota Supra. Well, I thought he was bringing it to pit road. No, he just completely cut on the apron all the way through 3 and 4.
Caution in the back, looks like we're having some issues back there. Looks like the 58 spun around, but was not the initial spin.
28 of Ryan Williams, I think, is what brought out the caution. Ryan Williams, of course, sponsoring tonight's event, so he got into tonight's race locked in due to the sponsorship slot. And there you see, as you mentioned, Michael Frisch in the 58 may have spun out afterwards.
Caution was out. Looked like everyone's trying to slow up, and Frisch had nowhere to really go. Was the one that spun out, got just a little bit of help there, but Ryan Williams, it looked like he spun out all by himself. He was on near the apron, and his car exiting off the corner, lost it on the front stretch.
And he took the exact same line through 3 and 4 that Jake Poulin had taken up ahead of him. I think he saw what the 00 was doing, tried to duplicate it, but then when he went back to the throttle off of 4, the thing came around him. Did not hit anything, however. So his car will still be pristine, it looks like. We'll look back and see what happened there with Michael Frisch after the caution had flown. think he might have gotten a little bit of help here. Yes, he did. But he got on the brakes. I don't even think that car made contact with the outside wall. He fires it back up and continues. I gotta wonder too, obviously with the heavy brake bias that these drivers have to have going into these corners to brake at a short track, not a whole lot of banking to rely on as well. When you get spun out like that and you go into a slide, I mean, how much wear is that going to cause on your tires?
I mean, it's a lot of wear, and also it's heating up your tires a lot more. You're with the iRacing models, talking to a few of the drivers, and really, when these tires get warm, it is extremely difficult to cool them off. And when you have warm tires, they're going to be all slick and sliding all over the place. It's going to be difficult to drive here, especially at a racetrack that has no banking, really. I mean, there's just a little bit. Everyone's on the high side where the most of the banking is just trying to help yourself. But some of these guys that are trying to run the bottom, they're sliding a lot more, so they're wearing their tires as much as everyone else.
Couple of drivers on pit road, including Jake Bullen in the 00, Kyle Riley in the 62, Bronson Stafford. He got the free pass, is back on the lead lap. Justin Malello was also a lap down, so he still remains -1. However, if we get another caution, he would be back on the lead lap. You see right there, the 48 of Andy Margot and the 28 of Ryan Williams. I believe that they were behind the pace truck when the caution came out, but ahead of race leader Michael Cozy. So I believe they've gone around and gotten themselves back on the lead lap as Blake Reynolds was running down there on the apron. Not sure what was going on there as he tucks back up in line. So far working our second caution of the day. However, even with the fact that we've run 2 cautions with these pacing laps, I mean, we are getting close to almost being about a seventh of the way through this race. I mean, even the pace laps tick away quickly.
Yeah, with this short track, I mean, we haven't really been able to run that many green flag laps, but with all the caution laps we've had, this race is starting to tick away from these guys. But I mean, during that run that we just had, I got to see some of the drivers. They're running low, and you got to wonder, some of these guys are running low on purpose, trying to just run a different line than everyone else because everyone else is trying to run that high line. It's the fastest line, but you can't pass someone and you can't pass through them, so you got to figure out somewhere else to make moves. Something else to wonder about, with everyone else being so high and close to the wall, if you try to use your bumper, you're most likely going to put them in the wall and probably get them into you and cause more damage to your car. So you got to be careful using your bumpy here on the high side.
And the other thing with that too is just about everybody wants to run that outside line. So if you use the bumper, get the car in front of you out of shape, that's going to kill their momentum, your momentum, and stack everybody up behind you. So especially when push comes to shove in the latter portions of the stage of this race, we're going to have to keep an eye on that. As Brian Mercurio looked like he wanted to push Michael Cozy Jr. through 1 and 2.
He practically was. Mercurio trying to get past Blake Reynolds, but just not able to. But Sean Butler now in 4th, just slotted behind Reynolds. Now everyone else is starting to slot behind. Next battles we're going to be seeing is all the way back around 8th place.
And there's a 3 wide battle. 4 wide! Oh my goodness, they were 4 wide with McAdams, Alt, I believe it was Joey Bailey, and Ashton Schleiss. They were 4 wide going through turn 2.
They're still about 2, 3, almost 4 wide back there. I mean, that's showing how wide this track is, but back there, they're still 3 wide.
Ashton Schleiss, has to overcorrect it there a little bit coming out of the corner. That's Jonathan Taylor in the 7 right behind them, and that Arby's machine as Schleiss gets into the wall. Oh my gracious, they're 4 wide for a brief moment again. Oh, and into the wall goes Schleiss. He's going to collect the 95 of Rice, but they keep it straight. We're still green.
I mean, I was making the reference, this is kind of like a dirt track the way these guys are racing, and they really are. I mean, they are bumping and rubbing right on top of each other, and they are still 3 wide.
Oh,
action,
gracious.
And they're about to be 3 wide exiting off the corner. There's just a whole bunch of action going on back here, but up front, it's still Michael Cozy Jr., and it looked like Mercurio was thinking about making a pass, but still all single file, except for you go to the back of the pack. That's where you're seeing all these cars clustered up and all wadded up. Not sure what positioning and what lanes really to take.
I mean, this has got to be the most fun camera right now, to be on board with Michael Frisch and see what's going on ahead of them. You've got them in 3 different grooves. They're leaning on each other, and somehow we're still green. I mean, we didn't even, I don't think, see 4 wide at Talladega, and they were 4 wide here at a short track twice.
And what's crazy is they're not actually running too bad compared to our leader. They're only a couple of tenths off, even all wadded up like this.
All right, Mercurio reeling in like Okozie. Whoa, Blake Reynolds tried to make a move for the second spot. It's going to cost him as Sean Butler's going to get around for third, and here comes Travis Brown for that fourth position. And I'm almost thinking that Blake Reynolds might be thinking about later on in the race. You know, you wouldn't think about it, but you mentioned the fact of going where they ain't. You may have to do a download slide job to be able to make a move on the last lap for the win.
Yeah, you're honestly going to have to cross your fingers and hope your car just sticks by doing that. As you've seen these tires, and you've seen the way that these cars have been just shifting around, they really like to slide when they're on the bottom. So it's something to watch out for. As they're still all wadded up back in the action where you were seeing all of them up with Michael Frisch and all them. They're still 2 and 3 wide back here.
Mercurio taking a look. I want to watch this 41 as he goes down here into 3, especially. You can see right there, there's a little bit of a bump going into the entrance of turn 3, and that can really upset the race car if you don't hit it just right.
And Mercurio just dipping his nose every once in a while, and it's getting a little bit more each lap, but it's the exit that we're seeing Cozy Jr. have the most power. And really the strength of this car has been on the exit because Mercurio has just not been able to stay side by side.
Mercurio's been really good to the center of the corner, but then when he ducks it to the inside to try to get to the left rear quarter panel, he cannot get the straightaway speed that Cozy does on that outside line. That's going to bring Sean Butler into this mix in the third position as they're now stacking up 2 wide.
Travis Brown got into the back bumper of Blake Reynolds, and Blake Reynolds had to throw his car down low. But up front, we're starting to see a pass. That slide move, but isn't enough. Mercurio was not able to get it done, loses all his momentum, and he's going to be drifting back even more.
That's going to drop him at least back to third, I would assume. Oh, he's trying to tuck in line here in front of Blake Reynolds, and he actually might. Because Reynolds went low, Mercurio may be able to tuck up in front of him. Ooh, it's close. Nope, Reynolds is up alongside the right rear.
Mercurio still stuck on the bottom side, but now we can see if anyone else really has anything for Cozy Jr. You're going to have to move him. Because if you try to make any moves on the inside, we saw how Mercurio lost the spot just because of the momentum being lost, but they're still trying to sort things out up front.
A little further back is where we find 4-time winner, 7th place, Derek Justice. He had his hands full a moment ago with Chris Wetz in the 72 as he's trying to make his way around. Ooh, David Shieldhouse almost got into the back of him. And as we look at our point standings coming into this race, as things stand, I mean, you've got obviously Reynolds and Justice up there. I think that's Keith Sherman up into the wall through that corner. You know, Justice with 4 wins, Blake Reynolds with 2 wins. So we know they're already locked into the playoffs. But you look at some of these guys like Sean Butler, he's down there 11th in the standings. Right now in a playoff position, a great run right now in 2nd place. It's exactly what he needs with consistency. Michael Cozy Jr., 20th in the standings with 2 wins, out in front trying to look for win number 3. But there's a couple of names you'll notice down there in purple. These are guys that have won but are not in the field and are not inside the top 25 in points, which is where you need to be to get playoff spots. Kane Cook, our Daytona winner, has dropped down to 28th. And Graham Boland, who took the checkered flag last week on STN at Dover, he's one of the go or go home guys we've seen make it into the main event races most every week. I don't know if he tried qualifying for this race or not, but he did not make it in. So that is a tough break for a guy that came in 30th in the standings. And if he had had another good run today, would have made himself closer to getting into a playoff spot.
Yeah, I mean, some of these guys that just aren't able to make it to every single race. You got priorities sometimes, and sometimes you're just not able to. But, you know, having that win, it really enables these guys to race the rest of this until we get off to playoff times and see if they can make it into the playoffs. Up front, it looks like Sean Butler was on the back bumper of Cozy Jr., but now Butler's being challenged by Blake Reynolds, and everyone's kind of just jammed up and stuck, not able to make any moves right at the moment.
Watch the hands there of Sean Butler. I mean, that last time through the corner, it looks a lot steadier now, but that last time through the corner, you saw his hands all of a sudden turn the wheel to the right as he felt the rear end of that car coming around. Again, you see him kind of counter-steering on the entry to the corner.
It's coming across the line here. It's going to be lap 40 done for these guys. The 40 laps already out of the way, and there's only been a couple of cars that have made pit stops. But I don't think they've really made pit stops far enough to where they can make it to the end here. So still everyone should have to pit one more time.
No, I mean, Kyle Riley, Michael Frisch would be the highest rating of the drivers that have pit so far in this race, but they came to pit road back, I think it was on lap 16. So there's no way they didn't enter into that 25 lap buffer to be able to make it the rest of the way. Is right now Kyle Riley in a battle with Ryan Naraki. That's Naraki who comes in this race currently 10th in points, right now in the 10th playoff position. And just behind him, Michael Frisch, who had that earlier spin, currently running in the 20th position. He comes into this race 8th in the playoff standings right now.
I would say Naraki was someone to watch out for, but the practice laps were not something for us to really be useful. As
No.
A lot of the fastest laps during practice were guys wall riding, so those laps really didn't count, but still someone that found some speed somewhere where other people weren't finding speed during practice.
Yeah, and when we mean wall riding, we don't mean that they were just up there brushing the wall in the corner. No, they were up there 90 degrees riding around the catch fence in these corners. That type of wall riding. They were spider cars.
They were practically doing a Herbie from Herbie Full Loaded.
Exactly. Great comparison.
As these guys are still all single filed pretty much everywhere.
And look at Kyle Riley back there. You know, for drivers that are trying to make their way into the playoffs through points.
Cars are all smashed up and clustered around.
And that was Brian Mercurio in the 41.
Mercurio, Sean Butler. I don't know if Blake Reynolds got out of there clean. It looked like Blake Reynolds did get through clean. So a lot of machines in that got some damage.
This had to have been for the second spot.
It was.
Wow.
There was a little bit of help from Blake Reynolds getting into Sean Butler, and I mean everyone's stuck in the same lane, so clustered up that you really can't slow down for the first about 5 cars, so they're gonna be getting some damage. I think the last car to really get damage from all of that was gonna be Derek Justice, who got his front bumper brushed in there a little bit, so have to wait and see if he's got any damage on that machine. There are about 5 machines that were involved in that.
I saw Travis Brown and David Shieldhouse sliding into that, and there may have been another car behind them. And to your point, with everybody running up there on the top side, not a whole lot of opportunity to be able to avoid, and also put into the fact that we went into about a, what was it, like maybe 25 lap run. Those tires would have heated up, and they aren't as responsive to slowing you down when they're heated up as opposed to being cooled down.
A lot of cars coming into the pits and looking to see who that was. Someone was having some issues. I think that was the 15 machine that was having issues on pit road.
Gonna look and see who that other car was that got involved in the stack up, and then we'll go back and see the results of the pit stops here. There's Shieldhouse, and the other car, even though he didn't get a whole lot of damage, I think he got a piece with the left front, was the 31 of Derek Justice.
Yeah, Derek Justice got just a little bit of it at the end there. But it was Keith Sherman that had extreme issues on the pits. He was struggling just to get into his pit box, and that's where he lost a lot of time during his stop.
Looking at Dylan Smith, he just led a lap and then brought it to pit road. Same for Andrew Schwartz, he stayed out an extra lap. And I believe Sean Butler also stayed out an extra lap. So this should turn the race lead over to Blake Reynolds in the 3, who got out of pit road ahead of Michael Cozy Jr., Chris Wetz, Derek Justice, and Cosmin Ishinoshu. And we're getting ready to go green already. Those guys that were on pit road better hurry up.
Looking at cars that had to come in, and it looks like Sean Butler's going to be just dropping to the back, and we are green. So it took a long time for these guys just after pits to get all situated. Blake Reynolds is going to be the one who gets out front, and then also Michael Cozy Jr. And in third, it's going to be Derek Justice, who was just involved in that last incident.
They had a little bit of damage to the left front. Again, though, with the fact of it being a short track, I mean, we kind of say this all the time when we come to a short track type race, is you don't have to have the prettiest car in the field to go to victory lane. Just as long as the thing's still running up to speed and handling to your liking, you can still be competitive. As we've got a battle for 5th Cosman has not been able to get himself to the outside line. He's got David Shieldhouse to his outside, and somehow Shieldhouse, I don't know if it was the contact that he had from that last incident, but they've had to actually take the whole front bumper off that car.
Yeah, the bumper was lost during that wreck, so he did not get that bumper repaired, but still racing. Shane Tarian also involved with these guys in the battle for fifth.
Tarian comes into this race currently in a playoff spot, 9th in the standings. Shieldhouse 7th. These guys are trying to keep it up there to make it at least through points into the playoff system, whereas Cosman, as he gets into Shieldhouse there and they keep it together. That was a close call for around the 5th spot, but Cosman comes into this race currently 14th in the points, and if my calculations are correct, he is 52 points out of a playoff position currently, so definitely kind of getting these good finishes when it counts, and Travis Brown sideways out of fourth.
Travis Brown got a little bit of help, but kept it going, and Shane Tarian up front of them, bouncing off the wall. And also Keith Sherman bouncing off the wall. So these guys are struggling just to keep their cars staying off the wall with the sliding of these tires. It's just been a little bit of a struggle for them.
Travis Brown almost slid up into Dylan Alt right there, and they make contact. That puts Alt up into the wall, stacks up Kevin McAdams and Kyle Riley. McAdams almost spins it off of 2.
Alt, that was a massive hit onto the wall. His front bumper has gotten a ton of damage. We got to watch out for that Fordham machine. A lot of the cars that are stuck on the outside when there's a machine trying to just get up there, they drift up, hit one another, and shove the car into the wall. So a lot of risky plays being side by side for as long as these guys are.
And they're fighting for real estate all through this field. And with it being a short track, we know the old adage, short tracks breed short temper as well. That's the second time that Dylan Alt's been put up the racetrack by Travis Brown.
They were almost 5 wide back to the pack. Seeing a car spinning it around. I believe that is the 65 machine. It gets into Naraki, but somehow they all keep it straight, keep going, but all the way in the back, they were about 5 wide, and Bronson Stafford also was involved in that little 5 wide action.
Everyone keeps it straight as Bronson's actually lost the front bumper on his number 61 Supra. Take my word for it, it's a Supra, even though you can't see the logo on there. As we move back up to the front, things have kind of calmed down. We had some good battling going on for the lead when Cozy was leading Butler and Mercurio, but now Reynolds has been able to open it up by a car length, which doesn't seem like much, but compared to the fact we've seen them bumper to bumper all up at the front all night up to this point, that's quite a nice distance.
Well, I mean, you got to look at the top 3. These top 3 drivers have been the drivers of the season.
Yes.
It seems like they have won almost everything, it seems like.
2 wins for Reynolds, 2 wins for Cozy, and 4 wins for Derek Justice. The only other drivers that have taken checkered flags this season are all go-or-go-home drivers outside the top 25 in points. Kane Cook, Brandon Hawken, and Graham Boland.
Yeah, I mean, really, Michael Cozy Jr. once was one of those LCQ drivers that had to work his way in, and after getting these 2 wins, he's now in the top 25. So it shows that showing off your speed and coming every week and getting these wins, you are in here, and now he has a chance to win it all, being into the playoffs.
Got a couple of drivers making some good comebacks here after being involved in some early cautions. Kyle Riley was involved in the very first yellow. He's been able to work his way back up to 11th, and Brian Mercurio, who was caught up in the last caution, is now up into the 12th spot, trying to march his way back to the front. He was in 3rd place at the time when he was involved in the wreck back on, I believe it was around laps 40.
Now watching these drivers up front, they're running some pretty quick lap times, and they should be catching up to some lap traffic in the next about 10 to 15 laps. You gotta wonder what lap traffic is gonna do. If they're gonna be staying on the high side or getting out of the way. Usually they get out of the way, unless we see some 2 wide action where they're battling for position and then also trying to be the car that's in the lucky dog position.
And you know, too, that the race leaders are probably going to want that outside line That's going to force the slower traffic to have to run the inside line, and we've seen a couple of cautions here tonight with drivers trying the inside line and finding no grip. I mean, maybe now we're going into these longer runs, the tires are heating up enough that you're going to find at least a little bit of grip down there, but it'll be interesting to see, especially with the slower machines, if they're going to be able to keep it down there on that inside line, letting the race leaders on by. That's Andy Margot in the 48. We can see just up ahead, about maybe a little less than a straightaway ahead of race leader Blake Reynolds.
Yeah, Margot has been trying to stick with the pace, but he's got a little bit of damage on his right side, which is costing him a lot of time. So it's something to watch out for that 48 machine. But after the 48, if our leaders catch up to the next cars in front of them, you got a pack of 4 to watch out for.
I'm really impressed. I mean, I'm looking right now at, when we started this race as opposed to now, we're nearing halfway already. Yes, we've had 3 cautions, but at the same time, these guys have gone into 2 long green flag runs. The first one was 25 laps long, and we're about 23 laps into this run. So, with what we were looking at in practice, with what we were hearing a lot of drivers saying prior to the green flag, these guys have done a heck of a job of keeping it together, keeping it straight, and putting on some great green flag runs here for the fans.
Yeah, I'm watching a battle here back for about, I think that is for 20th position. Sean Butler's trying to come back. I mean, he was back up there in 2nd place, and he's trying to work his way up. But Jake Bolin, he's back on the bottom side, and so is Alt. They're the 2 machines that are the only ones really trying to use that bottom lane. As now Bolin's going to be moving back up into the high side, seeing that is the faster lane to be in, but Alt stuck on the bottom. With everyone being such in really just single file action, it's hard to make any moves.
Yeah, it's Matt Wishart up ahead there in the 44, Nate Stewart in the 13, and you can see Sean Butler on the outside line is going to now go around Dylan Alt, trying to take away the 19th position. Cody Atkins right there as well in that Taco Bell Chevrolet. We should mention that, the past couple of weeks, they've been having this tournament with 16 drivers, the May Madness tournament. So far, we know the drivers that have been able to move on to the semifinals and are going to be trying to make it to the finals, of course, at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Tonight's race is not a part of that, however. It will not be until, I believe, Michigan, when that tournament will continue.
Yeah, it's been fun to watch that little bit of May Madness, which was just because we have lost March Madness. Drivers thought they would bring out a little bit of something different for the racing that's going on. As we're seeing a lot of drivers too wide, as Sean Butler's making another pass and trying to move up to 17th.
Also got a battle back here. This has been the fun part of the track right now, from about maybe 8th on back to 13th. That's where you find Travis Brown, Keith Sherman, Kyle Riley, Brian Mercurio, Kevin McAdams, Jonathan Taylor. I mean, they've been nose to tail, but they have been in very close proximity to each other as well. As McAdams going to try and make a move to the inside, and Mercurio cannot do it. Just to correct myself, Michigan is the finale, the tournament finale, if you will. Charlotte, which STN's going to have to call with, is where the semifinals take place. And right now, you got David Shieldhouse, who's going to be going up against Brian Mercurio, and Kevin McAdams against Blake Reynolds. I mean, that's 2 pretty good battles.
Oh, yeah. I mean, so the way that the bracket works is basically it's whoever finishes better that race gets to move on to the next round. They still get to race every single race, but for this little bracket that we have, whoever finishes better that week gets to move on to the next round. So it's going to be interesting to see who wins that May Madness.
Mentioned about the fact that outside of the go or go home drivers, outside the top 25 in points, our top 3 are the guys that have gone to victory lane. So, I mean, do we classify them as the big 3 right now?
I would consider them as the big 3. I mean, we've seen how Blake Reynolds has been quick at a lot of these. He's quick at all the road courses, he's quick at all of these ovals, it seems like. And Derek Justice has just been so dominant at the start of the season. And now we've got Michael Cozy Jr., who just came out of nowhere. So really, these 3 have just been so good.
Now remember, these drivers all had the opportunity to come to pit road past that lap 25 mark that you were talking about. So if we do manage to continue to stay green the rest of the way, or even if we have some caution sprinkled in, do you think that was the only pit stop we're going to see these drivers make today? Or if we get a late race yellow, do you think we'd see some drivers maybe try and duck onto pit road and see what fresh rubber can do for them with maybe 25, 20 laps to go?
I would say if there's a caution. Oh,
Oh,
as there's a caution now.
wow. We,
I was
we,
gonna
we just
say
called it. We just
if
jinxed it.
if there was gonna be a caution within about 50 laps to go or so, I would imagine that we would have a caution. As it looks like it was back at Cody Atkins that had the incident.
That's a lot of damage.
Ooh, we got a
sustained
little
as
bit
well.
of help. Got a little bit of help from Ult.
Like maybe, I don't know if Ryan Naraki got a piece or not, because he's got some pretty good front end damage as well.
Believe Ryan Naraki, that was damage they had earlier on in that green flag run when their bunch of 4 cars got into a little bit of action.
Oh, wow. That's hard to tell really whose fault that was, because it looked like Cody Atkins was trying to make a move on Adam Kodal, and he lost momentum coming off the corners, came back up the track, and didn't realize he wasn't clear on the 40 of Dylan Alt, who was already to his right rear.
Yeah, it was a little bit of coming up a little too soon, and also it's just one of the fluky parts of the track where there is that opening to just drive off, so it's such a fluky spot that it was way more damage than expected for these machines.
Caution out here past the halfway point. And we are within 70 laps to go, nearing 60 laps to go here in this race. And everybody came to pit road, but it looks like we may have had some varying strategies.
Shane Terrian coming in. It looks like our front 2 all took 2 tires.
And Michael Cozy Jr., who lost the race lead on the last time everyone came to pit road, he's going to be the race leader now. You mentioned Shane Tyrion as well. Cozy and Tyrion going with 2 tire strategies. Blake Reynolds, who went with 4, he's going to line up in 3rd with Derek Justice and Chris Wetz, the top 5. Looks like Cosmin Ishinoshu, David Shieldhouse, Brian Mercurio. No, he went with a 4 tire stop. He'll be 8th, Travis Brown in 9th, and Kyle Riley's going to complete the top 10. I believe Andy Margot was the only driver running 1 lap down, so he will be back on the lead lap. He's in the 30th position. We've got 2 drivers that are multiple laps down. One is currently sitting on pit road in 31st. That is Ashton Slice. Justin Malello has gotten back on track, but he is 33 laps down, currently in 32nd. So all 32 cars that took the green to start this race currently are being scored still in it as the green flag is back in the air. And the thing I love about it too is we don't spend a lot of time under pacing. We go back green pretty quickly.
Oh no! I believe that was Mercurio that got hit into the wall, and he lost a lot of spaces, and with everyone being jam-packed, it spun some cars out in the back after the accordion effect.
Bronson Stafford involved in this one yet again. Michael Frisch, I believe, also got involved in this one. Possibly the 15 of Keith Sherman, maybe the 1 of Dylan Smith, although they may have just come to a stop, as I think we may have had another spin the front straightaway. Looks like some drivers are darting around. Oh no, Sherman did get involved in that. Some guys were just stopped waiting for the drivers to be able to refire their cars and leave the scene of the accident, but there were others that did get bits and pieces of this one.
It looked like Frisch got into Sherman, and then all the other cars had nowhere else to go as they were slowing up, and Bronson Stafford once again involved in another accident.
Now, if we look, I don't know if we'll be able to see it with the angle here, but look up ahead of these guys. You'll see the bright green car of Mercurio. See right there as he gets up into the wall with Kyle Riley now. They kept it straight, and this may have been these drivers maybe checking up for what happened up ahead, and some other drivers not realizing it. I think maybe Sherman might have lifted, expecting there to be a wreck. Frisch did not see that, and that's when he got into the back of Sherman and spun him around.
it looked like out of all the cars that were involved in that accident, Malello was able to slow down and not get any more damage as he was already so many laps down. But Alt got involved a lot, and just a lot of action where drivers just are getting a little bit antsy, but at the same time, that wall trying to heat up some more cars.
Saw there Dylan Smith. He got run into the back of by someone that might have been possibly Margot in the 48. And I didn't see him involved in the wreck. I thought he slowed down in time, but maybe not. Joey Bailey currently has disconnected. We'll see what happened to the 19, see if he got involved or not. Oh, he did. Yeah, he got some pretty good left front damage after getting into the back of Keith Sherman.
And it just looked like he had already a lot of damage on that machine that just it wasn't driving right. Pulled it off to the edge and decided to end his race there.
Well, after that restart, Blake Reynolds, who was third, has now worked his way up to second. So he'll be there on the back bumper of Michael Cozy Jr. Shane Terrian dropped from second back to third. Remember the 99 to 38. They are on a roughly 30 lap old, I would assume, left side tires, as they, I believe, would have only changed right side tires there under that pit stop, going with a two-tire strategy. Derek Justice lines up in fourth. Chris Wett's currently in fifth. And then most of the rest of the top 10 didn't really change, with Cosmin Inoshu, David Shieldhouse, Travis Brown, Kyle O'Reilly, and Kevin McAdams completing the top 10. Brian Mercurio, who got that little bit of an incident but kept it going, dropped back to 11th. Sean Butler, who was involved in the same wreck as Brian Mercurio, he has worked his way up to 12th. 13th is Jonathan Taylor. Ryan Williams, who had the early spin, is 14th, and Matt Wisher currently is scored in the 15th position as we're getting ready to go back green. We're closing in on 50 laps to go here at Irwindale.
I love so once again, Cozy Jr. getting a great start, but Blake Reynolds trying to do the crossover here into turn number one. Trying to go on the low side, and it looks like Shane Terrian, those two tires just aren't working as well as he wants to as he loses another position. And we're seeing the power of 4 fresh tires compared to just having 2 fresh tires. As Blake Reynolds on the low side, now making it side by side, he's showing that low side can make it work.
He doesn't have the preferred line. He's got to get himself clear of Michael Cozy Jr. as he got a little loose off the corner. Shane Terrian holding on there on his 2 tires in the 4th position. He had, I believe it was Chris Wetz into the back of him there on the restart, as he did not get going when the green came back out. Ooh, Reynolds, I thought maybe he was going to drive it in deep enough to clear, but nope. Only gets about maybe half a car length ahead through the center of the corner, and then Cozy Jr. battles right back even on the top side.
You got to be a little bit nervous here, because I know these guys are going to try to race as clean as they can, but if Blake Reynolds gets a low, there's a caution in the back.
And it's hard to tell who that might have been. Looking here towards the rear of the field, and I don't see anybody really with any damage, although it's hard to be able to pick out anyone with damage because a lot of drivers have got little dings and dents. Maybe the 39 of Arnold Columbia.
Looking back at Columbia all by himself when going back. Yeah, it was Columbia that spun it around.
He was battling side by side with Cody Atkins at the time, and just loops it around right in front of Andrew Schwartz. And boy, lucky for Columbia, though, that spin took place when it did, because he almost got those tire barriers off of turn 4 down near the pit lane wall.
Well, I actually don't think that was it, because I think the caution happened later than that. So, because that was right when everything started. So I think there might have been an incident that happened later on. We're still looking to see what was the cause of this accident. That was something that happened at the start of this restart.
See if we can pinpoint it here. Oh, I think I found it. The 13 and the 15 getting together, I believe, maybe. No?
No,
They
it was
made
ahead of them
contact.
when they made contact. It was ahead of them. I believe through the machines.
I'm wondering if it might have. I saw out of shape the 7 of Taylor. Oh, it was. It was the 7 of Taylor. A little contact between himself and Ryan Williams. Although he went around somewhat, but then kept it going after a little bit of help there from, I think that was Matt Wishart.
But due
I,
to us trying to get everything situated, these without fastest pace cut laps are, we're already about to go green. So we'll get back to showing you that at some point maybe, but up front, Blake Reynolds, who's got the lead right before that caution, now going green. Gets a fantastic start. Now Michael Cozy Jr. with those 2 tires that he took the last time he came in the pits. You gotta see if he's able to make a pass here.
and I had to chuckle when I was following 4th place running Cosmic Oshie's car around the track because he is channeling his inner Talladega Nights here tonight with John Gerard on the hood of that Splash and Go Ford Mustang. So we'll see if that brings him any luck here, as he's currently inside the top 5 in that 5th position, running right behind those big 3 of Reynolds, Cozy, and Justice.
Once again, we're seeing that these 2 cars up front, all single file, and then it's about back to 6th position where you're seeing a lot of these battles. But it's all the way back to basically the 20s where you're seeing a lot of these cars going about 3 wide, or sometimes you're trying to go 4 wide as they're still all clustered up. Once again, up front, they're all single file.
Brian Mercurio trying to crack the top 10, trying to get around Kevin McAdams. The 2-tire strategy not right at the moment working for Shane Tyrion, as he's going to lose 7th to Kyle Riley. As Travis Brown in the bright pink 01 trying to go around as well. But you mentioned about back there in the pack, and that's where all the fun is going on. I mean, look at this, double wide, almost 3 wide in some of these areas. Andrew Schwartz is back in the middle of all this, and this is not a good place for Andrew Schwartz to be, because he comes into this race currently 6th in the standings. We haven't really seen him yet move up into the top 10. Another driver back here struggling as well, Michael Frisch in the 21st position. So this is a hornet's nest for these guys, and it's not really allowing them to make any forward progress.
No, and a lot of these guys that they're battling back here all have different varying degrees of damage that they're dealing with. So all their cars are not working the way they want them to, but they are still trying to press on and try to have the best finish that they can.
But we're looking here at the 00 of Jake Poulin, and I don't think we give him enough TV time for the credit. Oh, Taylor saves it. Oh, that's a close call for that RB Chevrolet. But Jake Poulin
Go up in front of Taylor, though, as there's got to be a little bit more contacting Taylor's involved, and that's Shane Tyrion.
And Brian Mercurio.
So those machines up front having issues, as it looks like it was Kevin McAdams and Shane Tyrion that got involved in the accident.
And those 2 were racing 4 tires against 2. And we'll have to go back and see what happened with that.
Oh, that looked like it was some net code that got involved there. That got McAdams spinning around, and then Mercurio and Shane Tyrion both dipped it down low.
See what happened here. This was a battle at the time for around the 9th position. Oh, just the slightest bit of contact. That put Sean Butler up into the wall. Look at, I think it was Matt Wishart and Ryan Williams split the gap. And Jonathan Taylor in the 7 gets collected up in this one as well. That's a lot of positions lost by both Tyrion and Mercurio, who at the time were up inside of the top 10.
They were up in the top 10. They were battling for about 7th, but you know, it's just the short track. It's so difficult with how everyone is running the same line. They're all trying to take the same real estate, and they're just not able to. And you know, you see these little bumps in the corner panel, and then it throws someone around, and that's what the danger is of trying to move someone or just tapping someone here. As up front, like Reynolds, I believe he's faking that he's going to come into the pits as he's running extremely low.
I don't think he's bitten.
But all
I
the
don't
cars
think
are
you're
going
gonna
to.
see these guys at least up in the top 10 on pit road again for the rest of the night.
Yeah, it's basically all the cars from about 17th or 15th on back came into the pits to try to get tires or any damage they still have to get it done.
Sherman, Brian Mercurio, Andrew Schwartz, Dylan Alt, Shane Tyrion, Arnold Columbia, Kevin McAdams, Michael Frisch, Andy Margot. They're all on pit road. We have had another driver go behind the wall, Dylan Smith, in the one, who I believe was caught up in the fifth caution of the evening. Don't know how much damage he really got. I know he got run into the back of, but I didn't think it was that hard a hit to send him behind the wall. But looks like he will finish I believe in the 29th position. Justin Mello may have enough laps to be able to get that 29th spot. He still has another 13 circuits to make before he'd pass Joey Bailey for 30th. He has gotten past Ashton Schleiss for 31st, but I believe he is currently sitting on pit road. He might be making a pit stop here and getting back out there. But right now, 3 drivers out of the race. We've got 29 drivers still running, and right now, 28 of them on the lead lap. I want to quickly just go back here before we go back green because I was talking about Jake Poulin. Obviously he's not having the best of runs here tonight. Right now, after that caution, he's up to 16th, but he's third in the points without a win. I mean, that is tremendous consistency for the first 12 races of the season. So, even though he has not been to victory lane, we got to definitely look at him because he is making a clear case for himself points-wise to get into this season's playoffs.
Yeah, Poulin's been someone that's been finishing in the top 10, top 5 almost every single week. As we are now going green, Blake Reynolds once again, it's a fantastic start. You gotta wonder for the battle though for second as Derek Justice gets right below Michael Cozy Jr. Remember, Cozy Jr. only took 2 tires the last time he came into the pits and is one of the only ones up here up front that did that move. So you gotta watch to wonder if Michael Cozy Jr. is gonna drop back anymore at the end of this race if we stay green.
And people probably watching are like, well, if Reynolds got 2 wins, Cozy's got 2 wins, Justice has 4 wins, they're locked in the playoffs. Why are they battling each other this hard? 2 reasons. Number 1, they're racers. Every time you take the green, you want to be the first of the checkers. Number 2, playoff points. The wins give you playoff points once the chase begins, and those bonus points can make you easily get into the next coming rounds of the playoffs. So you want to rack up as many points as you can during the regular season here to apply once you get to playoffs.
I'm watching the battle back here for 6, but there's a caution all the way in the back. More cars having issues, and it looks like Jonathan Taylor's involved and a couple of other machines.
I think Bronson Stafford may have been caught up in that aftermath again.
Yeah, he was, and honestly, it was Bronson Stafford and Jonathan Taylor that started this thing all off, just rubbing each other throughout turn number 3, and then they finally turn each other coming off the corner.
Well, if we had to take and find 2 candidates, one that was locked into the show, one that made it in through knockout Q, that have probably been knocked around the most here tonight, it's the 2 that made contact with each other right here in this incident. Taylor in the 7 and Stafford in the 61. As we watch this battle here, looks like Bronson tried to turn it low off the corner. He gets into the side of Taylor, turns him up into the wall. Don't really think anybody else got any damage out of that. I think it was really just a 2-car incident as everybody else was able to migrate down to the inside out of turn 4.
I believe Michael Frisch was also involved, and so was the 33 machine of Adam Cooley.
Taken on board here with Adam Kodal in that, well, it's supposed to be a Cheerios car, but it's actually the Bodals Chevrolet. See what he saw, as you're going to see here, Bronson and Jonathan leaning on each other through the corner. There is the contact. And there you see the contact there, especially to the right front of Adam Kodal's Chevrolet.
Well, when we go green, it's going to be less than 25 laps to go, and this is around the time that we were wondering, do you have any friends up front, or are you just trying to be moving cars around? Because it seems like the guys up front have been kind of nice to one another. Once you're single file, it's, I will try to make a pass. It's not working. Now it's time to just use your bumper as much as you can, as all the guys in the back have already been using.
I mean, the thing that I'm noticing here too, to your point, is, they've been running multiple lanes, but they've been giving each other room up front. Mid-pack, we have seen them door bang and leaning on each other and everything, so it's just a matter of time before they're going to feel the necessity to do it up here at the front.
Well, it's that time to use your bumper if you have the chance. I mean, Michael Cozy Jr., he cannot allow Blake Reynolds to get as amazing starts as he's been getting, as a lot of these restarts, the drivers immediately when the pace car pulls down, they're taking off. They're not really waiting for the green to really show up. So they're not waiting to get onto the front stretch. They're taking off in the middle of entering turn 4, exit of turn 4. So it's really, you got to get on the throttle as quick as possible, but the lead car is always changing up when they go on these restarts.
The question really right now, who wants it more? You've got your big three up here, Reynolds, Cozy, and Justice, but look further back behind you. You got Cosman there, who's trying to get his way into the playoffs. You've got Chris Wett's there in fifth. You got David Shieldhouse, who lost out on that photo finish to Michael Cozy Jr. back at Talladega. He's got some redemption on his mind. Sean Butler right now, last car in the playoffs, is for back green with less than 25 to go.
As Blake Reynolds gets a great start, but I think a yellow is already out. They are spinning in the back. Unless my ticker is wrong.
We are under caution, but I'm not sure who it was.
Someone got a little bit sideways.
It's so difficult when we don't... Oh, wait a minute. Got some tempers flaring there. I don't know if that was a little friendly nudge between the 39 and the 62 or not, and maybe we have to look around them for what brought out this caution. It
Kyle
was
Riley.
not them, so I don't know what
Kyle
that was
Riley
about.
was having a good run as he was up in the top 15.
33, Adam Kodal, involved in another incident. Was right on the restart too. Like he may have gone just a little too high up the track, and he felt it going around. He gets on the brakes, and Taylor gets into the back of him.
I mean, you got all the cars in the back that are trying to go, but they're just not able to. And once again, Kodal, part of another incident, but really it was just these tires are being worn down. These guys have been out for a while, and actually, it's just, I think the little incident between 62 machine and whoever that was, I think that was just them trying to slow down and accidentally running into one another.
I mean, I've been around Kyle Riley and Arnold Columbia before, and then from what I know, those two guys, they're really good friends with each other, so I wouldn't see any tempers flaring between the two of them. Maybe they're saying to each other, hey, first time we've seen each other tonight.
Possibly. I mean, they both have heavy damage on their machines, so it's not like they're really damaging their car any more than it already is.
Michael Cozy Jr.'s done a heck of a job up here, obviously, with going with the two-tire strategy the last time that all these drivers are on pit road. So I don't think he's going to have the grip to be able to get by Justice and Reynolds and win this race, but obviously going to have a good points day again. He came into this race 20th in the standings, which actually was the final driver to be locked into this field. With it being only a 32-car field here this evening, the top 20 in points got locked in. Of course, Ryan Williams, the sponsor of tonight's race, got in as well, and so 11 drivers had to race their way in through knockout queue, as opposed to 25 drivers locked in that we usually have each week.
Just looking at some of the race chat, it looks like that was just more of a, hey, how are you doing type of bump than anything mean or anything harsh between Kyle Riley and Columbia. But up front, I gotta be impressed with Butler and Shieldhouse, the way that they have been able to move their way forward with the damage that they have on those vehicles. They're probably the most damaged vehicles running up front, and they've been doing a great job being both in 6th and 7th.
A couple of guys that right now are in playoff positions as well and trying to maintain that. His green flag is back out with 17 to go. And boy, Blake Reynolds He's really been on it here for these restarts. He's had about maybe a car length and a half by the time they get to the start-finish line, but Derek Justice is going to clear Michael Cozy Jr. Now, if we stay green, is he going to be able to get up to the back bumper of that Coca-Cola Camaro?
Well, it looked like Cozy Jr. was about to try to stick it on to Justice at the bottom, just not able to, with not having really the tires to get on the gas as much as he wants. There's already another caution in the back.
And it's Arnold Columbia in the 39 just at the start-finish line, bringing out this 10th caution of the night.
Columbia, well, I think once again, it was someone in front of him that got a little bit of issues. Looks like it was the 48 this time that issues, and Columbia, another car that just did not slow down, just took off.
Sandy Margot in the 48 car, and a little contact there for Kyle Riley. Ooh, Kodal gets a piece of it again. Kevin McAdams, who had been up in the top 10 earlier on tonight, gets a piece of it also. 39 kind of pinballing off a few cars there just before the start-finish line, bringing out this most recent caution and closing us in on what could very well be a restart with either 10 laps to go or maybe a little less than that.
I think it's going to be a little bit less than that. So we're going to be within 10 laps at the start. So we'll have to wait and see how the drivers are going to finish out this race. As I was watching Columbia on this restart, and a car that I'm seeing just drifting it around, having fun in the back while everyone's getting lined up is Justin Malello, who's just been drifting it in the dirt, having fun with these restarts, as he is still 37 laps down.
Malello currently in the 30th position. Well,
it's gonna be close.
Yeah, I think he can pass Dylan Smith. I think he can pass Dylan Smith for 29th. I think he's got enough laps. So he will at least finish up there inside of the top 30 after early issues. Looks like the lights are still on top of the pace truck. And, you know, you talked about David Shieldhouse and Sean Butler. Give a call out to some of these guys that had to qualify their way in. You got Chris Wetz running in 5th, Matt Wishart in 8th, Travis Brown 9th. And how about the guy that sponsored tonight's event, Ryan Williams, up there in the top 10 after he had a solo spin early on, was able to battle back and looks like he could get a top 10 finish here in the race that he sponsored, the Follow Ryan Williams Creative on Instagram 150.
Yeah, I mean, that's a solid day for that 28 machine. Now, I think it was part of that second accident by himself, but now has fought his way through. He was driving through all the chaos that's been the start of this race, where cars were about 2, 3, sometimes 4 or 5 wide earlier on. So he was driving through that, and now he finds himself up in the top 10, where it's a little bit nicer of a drive, where cars aren't trying to be that reckless. But we'll have to wait and see, as we're going to be less than 10 laps to go with green here. And let's see if we can get a better restart here than what we have been getting.
You know, another name that just jumped out to me, and you mentioned that he's just been consistently up there at the end in the top 10. 11th place is where Jake Poulin is going to restart, so it looks like he's in line to do it yet again. And Brian Mercurio's had some ups and downs here tonight and has had a fast race car. He's right outside the top 10 in 12th place.
Yeah, Mercurio's been feeling that wall a bit after being hit a couple times earlier on in this race into the wall, so good to see him battling back and trying to get back into the top 10.
Dylan Alt got the free pass on this caution, so 28 cars still in the lead lap of 29 running. Pace truck's going to make the left-hand turn to pit road. It's going to be 8 laps to go for Blake Reynolds, Derek Justice, Michael Cozy Jr., Cosmin Ishinoshu, and Chris Wetz, your top 5. Let's see if we make it back to the white flag. Somehow I doubt it.
Oh, Blake Reynolds, he wound him up a lot more, and everyone else wasn't used to it, as they all kind of just got stuck where they were at, not able to go anywhere. But Blake Reynolds with another fantastic start, but everyone else behind, about 4th on back, are really struggling to get into line, as now it's just a 2-horse race.
Jake Poulin nearly lost it by himself, trying to go down low 3 wide underneath Nate Stewart and Ryan Williams, who both make a little bit of contact. Meanwhile, the battle up further to the front is for 3rd between Cosmin Ishinoshu and Michael Cozy Jr. Top 2 have been able to scamper away because of this.
Cosmin Ishinoshu is able to move up into 3rd, which makes Cozy Jr. There's a caution in the back, and it looks like it's between Kyle Riley and some other folks. That's going to turn this, I believe, into a green-white checkered.
Well, Riley and others may have had their incident, but I think the caution came out before that for Dylan Alt rather, and Cody Atkins off of turn 2. So we may have had a couple of incidents there at the same time.
Well, I think it's actually all started with Kyle Riley and all of them were kind of all clustered up here as they were all 3 wide, almost 4 wide.
Like Michael Frisch is in the middle of the 4 wide situation. It's Evan Rice in the 95. Ryan Araki, the contact there between himself and Rice. There's Frisch down into Riley. Riley overcorrects into McAdams. There's Taylor. There's Alt, Atkins, and I believe Taylor went up into the air. We'll have to look.
Looks like Kevin McAdams blown an engine on that accident, so he will not be able to finish out this race as he was trying to recover after being involved in so many accidents that really were not his fault at all.
Let's watch the RB Chevy. Jonathan Taylor, and I believe he gets sent up into the air. Yeah, little hip there from Dylan Alt sends him up onto the hood of Cody Atkins, and that's a little ironic there that the Arby's car and the Taco Bell car get together.
The lights are still on with our pace car. We'll see coming across the line if we are on the 1 to go or not. I believe once crossing the line, we will be on the 1 to go as the lights are still going. So
we're going to have to wait and see here if they do decide to do a green-white checkered.
This might be an in-race green-white checkered if we get the, or this might be a one-lap shootout.
Yeah, they'd have to go green this time for it to be a green-white checkered. If the lights go out this time, they would have a one-lap shootout. But if the lights don't go out, then I would assume we're going to see the lap total go to 152. And we would be into an overtime green-white checkered. We'll have to wait and see. It all really depends on that pace truck.
It is a one-lap shootout.
Nope.
No!
Green-white checkered. They just added the extra 2 laps there, so we are going to be going to lap 151. And we will go into overtime here for a green-white checkered attempt. And over here in FTF, they have unlimited green-white checkers, so it's all about getting back to the white flag.
We'll see if we get there. We have seen multiple cautions of cars in the back having issues, but Blake Reynolds this time not warming up, taking off right when he can, and getting a fantastic jump. Cosmin Osunushu, though, going to be stuck in third, not be able to make a move on Derek Justice just yet, but everyone else from about fourth on back, all still kind of stuck where they're at.
But Justice is within striking distance. If he wants to move the 3 out of the way or drive it deep into the corner, it looks like they will make it back to the white before a caution comes out. So this is it. It's Reynolds and Justice, the top 2 in points to battle it out at Irwindale.
And coming off of turn number 2, Derek Justice needs to use his bumper. There's that only way to get by Blake Reynolds, but Blake Reynolds far enough away where no bumper will be used. Blake Reynolds coming off the corner. He's going to get the win here at Irwindale.
Got loose there off of 4, and I think the deciding factor on that last lap, Derek Justice tried to carry way too much speed into turn 2. That car almost went up and got the wall, and that's where he lost a lot of his ground as Blake Reynolds drifting it around turn 4 here, celebrating his 3rd win of the season here in the FTF Grand National Series. Oh!
Getting a little bit of tap. I believe that was from Butler.
It was.
Which I think that's some aggression from Butler earlier on in the race when he got spun out. Also, could be just these guys giving each other a little bit of a love tap.
Not sure, but yeah, he went after him and got him once, and then he came back again. So that says to me that it's in jest. I don't think that it's in anger, but then again, you never know. It's Irwindale. It's a short track.
I'll have to wait and see if we're able to get interviews with Blake Reynolds later on.
So as the Coca-Cola Chevrolet burns it down here on the Irwindale front straightaway, and now we'll head for victory lane. Oh, look at this. Now, this is what we were talking about, folks. This was the wall riding we were talking about.
As it looks like Blake Reynolds is going to finish off this race.
They're going to have to get out the winch to turn him up back right side up to be able to get him to victory lane. Ah, man. Making more work for the crews here at Irwindale Speedway. But Blake Reynolds is going to win. Derek Justice brings it home in 2nd. Michael Cozy Jr. there in 4th. And the meat in that Big 3 sandwich, Cosminish and Oshu 3rd place. I mean, this was a well-needed run for that 84 car as he came into this race outside of the playoff standings. And if he can keep the consistency up like this now, definitely I think Cosman will be able to find his way back up into the playoff grid. So a great run for him. And how about Chris Wetz? Had to race his way into the show. He stayed up in the top 10 pretty much all night long and comes away with a top 5.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like he was just at the bubble of being in the top 5 all race long and finally got in there at the end. So Chris Wetz, congratulations to him. Also, David Shieldhouse and Butler, both those machines with a ton of damage, but able to get a top 10.
And then you got Go or Go Homers completing out the top 10. Matt Wishart, Travis Brown, and Ryan Williams. Williams was involved in a wreck. Travis Brown was up in the wall a couple of times. And Matt Wishart, for the most part, just dodged all the wrecks. I don't think he was involved in a wreck here tonight. Saw him shoot the gap a couple of times and pick up spots and benefits with a top 10 performance. Look a little bit further down. Jake Poulin did not finish in the top 10, but still 11th after where we saw him. He was running back, about 25th, 26th, and was able to battle up in the top 15. He'll get 11th. We never mentioned Nate Stewart all night long, but he was fast in practice and fast here in the race, apparently, with a 12th place run. Brian Mercurio had issues. He battled back for 13th. Andrew Schwartz for 14th. And Shane Tyrion, we saw him get involved in a late wreck after he went on a two-tire strategy and it did not work out. He's still going to come away with a top 15 run, so this will keep him, I would assume, in a playoff spot. Same for Ryan Araki, finishing 16th. He was in a playoff position coming into this race, and I think he still will be going into next week. Some of the guys that you would look at and kind of wonder about where they're going to be positioned. Michael Frisch, eighth in the playoff points, finished in the 18th position. And of course, further on down, one guy in particular that I'm looking at is Kevin McAdams, who, as you mentioned, had the engine problem there in the closing stages. 28th is where he finished, and he came into this race 13th in the point standings. Only, I think it was 28 points out of a playoff position. This was not the run that he needed here tonight.
No, it really wasn't. And then the rest of the guys down here, I got to give it up to Justin Malello for continuing to run and getting up to 29th, but rest of the guys not able to finish out the race.
We mentioned about Graham Bolin not starting this race, and he was a driver, as Blake Reynolds still sits upside down turtle there in turn 4. But about Bolin not starting this race, he's trying to get into a playoff spot. Another driver that I didn't really even notice, and I just noticed now that did not start this race, was 5th in the points, Philip Kraus. So he's going to lose quite a number of positions here tonight unless he was able to take some kind of a provisional. So the driver of the 91 will be interesting to see where this situates him when we get into next week as far as the overall point standings. Looks like we do have all 3 of our top 3 drivers on standby. Let's kick things off with Cosmin Ishinoshu, who brings it home 3rd place here tonight at Irwindale.
Yeah.
And we have Cosmin with us. And Cosmin, I mean, you got a front row seat of everything that was going on there in that battle for the lead, but was there a point there in those closing stages you thought maybe Blake and Derek might get together and you'd be able to slip by and take that win?
Honestly, no. I was more focused on making sure that I don't get passed or sent from behind. So I wasn't really paying attention to what they were doing. And you trust them too much to think that they're gonna wreck each other for a win. So yeah, they they're too good for it.
We've seen quite a number of weeks where you've gotten caught up in wrecks that you've been an innocent bystander in, and obviously that's really hurt you in the point standings. Does this finish here tonight up there in the top 3 kind of look like the turnaround point of your season?
Turnaround, no, I don't know, but finishing third would make me throw a party, and the guys finishing second is trying to make up excuses why he finished second. So you can see a difference in attitudes here. It's a really fun series. I'm glad to be a part of it, and getting a top 3 was actually staying up there with these guys was actually pretty fun and rewarding for me.
Yeah, Cosmin, we were seeing how hard it was to make passes. How was it for you? I mean, it seemed like you were battling in the top 5 almost all race long.
I don't think I've made a pass whole race, or if I did, it's mostly because the guys that I was passing were on 2 tires. I think Cozy was on 2 tires, so it was hard for him to hang like on my inside, and so was Shane. I was just trying to stay in line and try to make sure that I'm in an out not even but odd no even position so I can restart on the outside. That was my strategy the whole night.
We noticed that everybody was really migrated up to the top side of the racetrack. A couple of drivers got brave and tried the bottom. So with everybody up there against the wall technically, did that take out any opportunity for a bump and run, knowing that if you did bump somebody, they'd have the wall to save them?
I don't know if the wall would save them. It would definitely slow them down, and it would get you beside them. But after that, you're probably risking it. So haven't seen what happened behind me, but in front of me there was no bumping contact whatsoever.
Well, obviously, Jean Girard there on the hood helped you out here tonight, getting that podium finish, and we're now going to let you do some shout-outs.
Yes, sir. We did not spill our macchiato tonight. Shout out, go out to Outrun, Twitch team. They do a lot for each other, and they're great people. FTF admins, everyone involved in the staff. Awesome job with the series. Everyone showing up, of course, and you guys for broadcasting. Thank you very much.
Hey, not a problem. You guys put on a great show for us here tonight at Irwindale. Congrats on your third place finish. That's Cosman bringing it home in the podium position, and hopefully this gives you some great momentum heading into Montreal next week.
Hopefully, we get to finish in the top 50 next week. So yeah, heads up.
And let's bring in second place finisher Derek Justice. And we have him here. Derek, I mean, it really looked like you were there within striking distance on that green-white checkered, but just a little tight. It looked like off of turn two. Did you overdrive it a little bit? Did you just all of a sudden not have the grip you had before? What happened there out of that second corner on the last lap?
Basically the whole race, I couldn't have no front turn the way I wanted the car to react. So I pretty much have nothing for Blake there. If I did get to him, it's just if I was going to pass him, it would have been giving a bumper. But that's not how I win races. I want to pass people clean. So I'm happy with the second. We're a track that's pretty much cannot pass here. It's just the nature of this track. But we'll take a second.
If I remember correctly, I think you started this race from the 11th position. You were able to work your way up there into the top five, eventually up into the top three. And I think a lot of that was due to the two pit stops that most of the field made. Did you really feel like pit road was the deciding factor in track position more than the battling out there on track during green flag conditions?
The first attempt on pit road, I spun it out entering pit road, so I lost 2 spots there. But I think the benefactor, me getting track position, is just getting good restarts. And if I saw on the outside, I was able to pass people that got stuck on a lane. So that was pretty much a benefactor. I don't think pit road was actually helped me much there.
Yeah, I mean, gotta say, Derek, it was a great race for you in general. I mean, I know it was hard to make passes, but a track that we're going to be seeing a lot of passes next week. How are you feeling about next week?
I've never been to that track, so I've never been to Montreal. So it'll be a new track to me to to try to run a little bit of laps to just get used to the track, and we'll go from there.
Well, Derek, obviously a great performance for you here tonight, bringing it home in the second position. I mean, the momentum continues for you in that 31 team, and we're going to let you do some shout-outs now.
Yeah, shout out to you guys putting the broadcast on. North Force Racing, Butt Kicker, Baskin Robbins, Toyota, everybody that supports me on Twitch. I have such a great community, and not just for me. Shout out to Team Outrun Esports on Twitch also. Support all of us. Just a great community in general, man. So hopefully everybody enjoyed the show.
Well, we certainly did up here in the booth, no doubt about that. That's Derek Justice. He brings it home second place here tonight at Irwindale. Great job, man.
Thank you.
And let's get in our race winner here, Blake Reynolds. And we now have him down in victory lane. The car has finally been winched back up on its wheels, got pushed there to victory lane. Blake, I mean, man,
I'm still here.
really, it really, it really looked like pit road was a huge factor into you getting up there at the front, especially that second time when everybody came down to pit lane, and then after that, it was just all about controlling the restarts for you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That one time with Cozy really locked it in there. And then really that last one where he took two, and I think Shane the 38 also took two. I think
Yeah.
when I restarted third there, I felt like I pretty much had it because like I got to the inside of Cozy there and we were holding even. So I think I knew from there like I think I can get this if I am able to hold off Derek once he gets by Cozy as well. So I just figured, yeah, I'll just stay out. Hopefully, they'll just wreck every 5 laps, and then I can keep these old tires on it. So that's what ended up happening, and I ended up getting the win.
Yeah, I mean, we saw for like those last 60 laps, you were able to enjoy the clean air and the clean racetrack out in front, but it wasn't that way for you early on. I mean, from your perspective, back during the early portions of the race, just how difficult was it to be running kind of in a single file train, bumper to bumper on that top side?
It wasn't too hard, but obviously you have to have experience racing real close like that, and you have to know your peripherals based on your FOV, blah blah blah, stuff like that. I did accidentally wreck my teammate in here, Sean Butler, that caused that pile up out of turn two there. So I will apologize to him. And we were in TeamSpeak. He wasn't too mad about it. I think he ended up getting a top 10 anyway. So I don't think he's too mad about that. But it certainly hindered his race for a good portion of it. So again, I apologize to Sean Butler. But yeah, that was really my only mistake I felt of the night.
Yeah, Blake, we were kind of wondering why Sean Butler came in all full speed at the end of that race at you. That makes sense. I just want to talk about next week. We saw how great you were at with Spa with the speed that you had there. I know we were saying that you were the most dominant car at road courses, and we're wondering how are you feeling about next week?
I think I'll be good. I haven't driven this car at that track in a long time. Coincidentally, I've actually driven both the road courses we've done so far this year. I've actually driven at before in a stock car, so I would I would I would attest my performance there because of just previous experience, and that's usually what I base a lot of my performances off of. But this next one, I might actually have to practice for it. Usually, I just hop on a couple hours before the race here and run laps. But yeah, I'll have to put in some laps there. Maybe watch an old nationwide race or two from that track. So just to relearn everything.
Well, we basically have dubbed you, Michael Cozy Jr., and Derek Justice the big three. You guys keep alternating wins, it seems, every single week. And with your third one here, you rack up more playoff points. So this is definitely going to put you in good stead once the playoffs actually begin. You came in the points leader. You're going to maintain the points lead as well and probably increase it a little bit more. So a lot of good things happening here tonight for you here at Irwindale. And we're going to let you do some shout outs now.
Sure. Yeah. Team Dylan Esports. I'm a NASCAR Coke Series driver. And we're, of course, sponsored by Coca Cola, as you see on my card tonight. Beneath StockX, Real Tree, Sparko, Austin Dillon, of course. And then my back end team is Dead Zone Racing. We got Houston Hammer, Dustin Lingert, and a lot of guys back there that help me with the setups and stuff. And then yeah, I don't know what else. My team in here is Scuderia Meatball Marinara, Kyle Riley's team. I'll give him a shout out. Yeah, he didn't have the greatest race tonight, so yeah, I think that's it.
All right, well, that's Blake Reynolds. He brings it home P1 here tonight at Irwindale Raceway. Congratulations. Hope you can carry this momentum into next week as you continue the road towards the playoffs.
All right, thanks, guys.
And Sam, I loved how you brought up the fact too of how he was running really well at Spa, was one of the dominant cars heading into a road course that we are next week in Montreal. He actually has taken a checkered flag. One of his two previous wins prior to tonight was at the Homestead Road Course. So obviously, definitely have to look at him as one of the favorites going into another road course race next week.
Yeah, I mean, we've saw Michael Cozy Jr. get a couple of wins in a row. We might see Blake Reynolds get a couple wins in a row. I mean, it was at Spa, it looked like Blake Reynolds was the car to beat, but with a little bit of issues that popped up, he wasn't able to get the win. So, I mean, this time around, he is still my favorite, even though he doesn't have as much practice there yet. I still think Blake Reynolds at any of these road courses is someone to watch out for.
Yeah, a couple of other guys, if we look at past road course races to maybe look at as some contenders for him, I think you got to throw Brian Mercurio into that. He finished second at Spa to Brandon Hawken. And I think if he makes the race next week, Graham Bolin, 2-time winner this season. I think he would definitely be a contender. He finished second to Blake Reynolds back at the Homestead Road Course. So a couple of guys that we can maybe look at that might be able to challenge Blake Reynolds, but we'll have to see what happens when we go north of the border next week. Flatout Racing Network will have the call next week for the Andrew Schwartz Fans Loud and Proud 150K at Montreal Raceway. As I believe it is the third road course stop of the season here for these FTF Grand National Series drivers. But that concludes our coverage here tonight for the Follow Ryan Williams Creative on Instagram 150 at Irwindale. And I have to say, and I don't know what your opinion is, Sam, I have to say I was really impressed. I did not expect those long green flag runs.
Yeah, the long green flag runs that we got to see were something special to watch. I mean, especially with all the action that was going on in the back. I was surprised with how long they were able to keep it straight. I know a couple of machines had some issues during that stretch, but overall, that was surprising to see. And once we saw some cautions pop up, it was cautions breeding cautions, but it was nice to see them driving in a green flag run in the middle of this race.
Couldn't even go 4 wide at Talladega earlier on the season, but they went 4 and 5 wide here tonight at Irwindale. But man, it was a show from start to finish. And Sam, I want to thank you for joining me tonight for this one.
Always a pleasure.
Thanks to everybody that tuned in to tonight's race here. Hope you guys enjoyed it as well. Blake Reynolds is your winner here tonight at Irwindale. We will see you guys next week at Montreal at this same time at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, when we will be bringing you the 14th race of the season. But the season rolls on here for the FTF Grand National Series presented by Splash and Go. We will see you guys next week. For Sam Dyer, I'm Seth Cole. Have a good night as you've been watching another production, another broadcast courtesy of the Flatout Racing Network.